Right, so can you describe like what it's like in a day when you're here doing the residency and doing the workshop with the college and the Wyoming Theater Festival? Like, what's a day like here in Wyoming?
Well, you wake up, and for me, I have to put a big giant to-do list up on the wall of the studio. So, of all the things in each act that we're trying to accomplish. So, we'll start the process by like, okay, where are we? Let's cover everything. Put every idea up of things that we think need to get fixed and all that. So there's this huge, to-do list that's on the wall. And it also feels really good when the black marker goes check. Like, it just feels so great. So that might be weird, but that's part of the process. So I'm working also with another colleague of mine from American Theater Company, and so we'll split duties. So if something requires, and often it does, going back into the transcripts, and we have edited transcripts and full transcripts. The full transcripts are as it actually happened. So that's very time consuming to find something. Each character at this point, we've probably done about an average of 10 interviews that are about 3 or 4 hours long. So, and that's probably around 120 pages of interview. So finding stuff is a little bit like a needle in a haystack.
That's right, because it's a verbatim play, so you can't just as a playwright come in and be like, oh, quick fix. You have to go find the right
you have to find
sequence of words as spoken and splice them.
You have to find them, and then 3 times they may talk about their mother's journey to Chicago, right? In 3 separate interviews. So you have to find all 3 of them and splice them together. And so it's a very time-consuming process. So a little note might take all half a day. So my colleague will work through that material, work through the transcripts and try to pull stuff, and then they'll come to me, and then I'll edit, and then try to sort of splice it into the scene. I also have a co-writer who's actually in New Zealand right now, so we have that time difference. So we kind of sync up, when I can talk to him, if there's tracks of the play that he's worked more on than I have. So, So anyway, it's assessing what the to-do list for the day is, splitting, and then it's really just time away, kind of thinking through, how this is going to flow, and then reading through the scene once it's been put into something. And then, it's, sending out new pages to be printed, and then, putting it into rehearsal. So that process is its own process, because I'm both writing and directing. So I have an assistant, I have 2 assistants, and one of those is from Sheridan, Grace Cannon, who really is responsible for a lot of these connections. So Grace and Kevin, my other assistant, and I will sit down and go, okay, this is how I see this scene playing out on stage. This is the rhythm that, has been established and in the scene, and this is sort of where I imagine is happening. And they'll take the first stab at actually trying to get it up on its feet. And that's basically us just maximizing the time so that I'm writing while they're doing that. And then once they finish putting the blueprint up, and it also gives the actors time to get off book on new material, then I'll come in and start editing and shaping that. And it's a pretty efficient process for how complicated this all is. So that's pretty much it is. And seeing it and recording it, and then would be the template for what we, start to do with the professional actors in, 6 weeks.
So you're actually finding your blocking here.
Oh, yeah.
That you'll throw in and use as the basis for the world premiere.
Absolutely, and what's interesting about documentary work is you want to try to find any way you can to tell the story, because you just don't want to have the first person talking head all the time. And there's enough of that in the play. We want to try other means, and a lot of those are nonverbal, something that's done through a movement sequence, or to really sort of understand the tension that's in a scene that can be done with a sound effect, and the sound effect's generated by the company in this play. It's not a soundscape that's recorded. Everything's live. And so those things you have to experiment with those things to find them. And if you wait and do all that, we wouldn't have enough time in the rehearsal process to do all that. So it's really important to have at least a base to start from on everything, which is what we have. That's why this is so invaluable.
So that's the real value of what you do.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, and in a place like Sheridan, which very quiet, very reflective place. And Jentel specifically, you know, is about, I don't know, 25 miles outside the city, maybe 30, I don't know, in Banner, and it's, you know, it's very remote. At least for me, it's remote. There's probably more remote places here for people in Wyoming, but it's pretty remote, and the cell doesn't work up there, and so, you know, you're really focused on writing. That's what you're doing. So it's great. And the other thing about Jentel that's wonderful is that, and unique, certainly for a theater person, is that there's 6 artists, none of them are theater artists, and the other 5 people are visual artists or short story writers, so you're out of your element, which is so good. Like there's not theater talk, you know, and it's a great litmus test towards if somebody thinks it's interesting or not, the average artist or the average person. So I think that's been really valuable about Jentel, and again, as I said, very valuable about working with the students of the college, because they don't have a frame of reference for documentary theater. You know, probably the most famous is the Laramie Project, which ironically is about Wyoming, but yeah, other than that, people wouldn't really, it's a very specific genre inside of theater. So it's great to have these students introduced to it, because, you know, the first thing that's usually out of their mouths are like, these people are alive, they're real people. I'm saying what they said, and these things that happened to them really happened, and there's a different level of responsibility to that material. I think that that's been a really unique experience for the students and community members in it.